Welcome to the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast. I'm Mike Waters. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by former Syracuse basketball player Matt Gorman. Gorman played at Syracuse from 2002 to 2007 and was a member of the 2003 national championship team. I talked with Matt about fishing with GMac, dunking on Carmelo, and why he chose to stay in redshirt at Syracuse rather than transfer. Matt, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show, Mike.
Oh, like I said, I've been looking forward to this. I think this is going to be fun because, boy, it seemed like it was just yesterday when when you were playing at Syracuse, or even before that, when you were playing high school ball up in Watertown.
Yeah, I mean,
I was following your recruitment.
We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of winning the Section 3 championship at Watertown. So it was 2001. So it's pretty wild to think it was 20 years ago already, but having Manley Fieldhouse packed, and it's wild to think it was already 20 years.
That's right. You won the Section 3 title. Do you remember anything about that game? I mean, first of all, who else played?
We played against Corcoran. So then we went on and we played Schenectady, and they had us by about 20 points that game. But we kind of went through the Section 3 pretty easily, and so it was a great time. I think it was 20 years ago, and a lot's changed since then. No more Manley Fieldhouse. That's always sad to see.
You can't go back to the scene of the championship anymore. Yeah. Now, by then I think you had committed to Syracuse, or you knew you were coming. I mean, take me back through your recruitment. What other schools were you really truly interested in, and why did you come to Syracuse?
Well, it was tough. I'd say I had family in Bowling Green, which is where Western Kentucky is, and I had a lot of alumni there. So that was really my first option. Time I was going to the camps and stuff growing up, and Dennis Felton was recruiting me pretty heavily at the time. So I'd gone out to visit Western Kentucky just to see family, and would go to their camps, like I said. And then by coming into junior year, a lot of the Big East schools, Villanova, Providence, St. John's, pretty much every Big East school at the time. A couple ACC schools. I visited Maryland. I visited Virginia. But I mean, you get recruited by so many schools at the time. You're going to these camps, so you're going to after sophomore year that spring. I had an opportunity to do some traveling for AAU. Really got that exposure. Like went to Providence, Rhode Island, and just was kind of unknown at the time. And I just had a great weekend. The next thing you know, the mailman's like carrying 3 times the amount of letters a day. I mean, it's still when you're doing letters back then. So all of a sudden, I remember USC would always just send every day. I can't remember. It was like this poor intern or whoever it was just having to write these. We still want, every day you'd have something from USC. I always remember that. My mom kept a file on all those letters, and the USC one is like got its own bin. So, but that's kind of where the recruiting started. And it was interesting how each program has their kind of own way of reaching out. And I just definitely remember the letters and just doing the visits and speaking to so many coaches, going to camps. But then by junior year, you really just started to develop, get better and better every year, and you just develop more physically and more maturely. And then got the chance to go to Adidas camp. That's where you really got exposed. And everybody was there. You got the exposure. By going into senior year, there's an up-and-comer named LeBron James, who was already as a sophomore Mr. Ohio basketball. So I had the privilege of being on his team. And I remember that summer the whole camp shut down because it was Carmelo versus LeBron. His team, those two teams were going at it, and everybody stopped and just watched this game going on. And it was something, and you just have all the coaches there that you just see. And this is somebody in high school, you're still a kid, and just looking and be like, wow, that's Mike Krzyzewski. Wow, look at all these coaches. And it was pretty surreal. So, but those are the ways you get better, and that's why for high school kids it's so important to get out there and play this various competition, because that's the only way you're going to really improve. So for me, that was really the main thing over those courses of the summer was when I really improved and started getting my name out there. But ultimately, having Coach Hopkins in your backyard, just Coach Boeheim, everybody was there, so it's just but ultimately, Syracuse being so close, and I had the opportunity of meeting Gerry McNamara throughout these various camps and things. And once Gerry was committed, and I was already becoming good friends with Gerry, I was like, well, I get to play with Gerry. Okay, this will be a no-brainer. And then I'll get to Carmelo. So that class. I mean, I was already familiar with these guys playing in various camps, especially with USA basketball with Carmelo. So,
do you remember any of your first or early pickup games as a freshman with Gerry and Mello, and then some of the upperclassmen?
Let me tell you, my first pickup game, we were actually it was at Archibald Gymnasium because Manly, something was going on at the gym. So we were just playing pickup basketballs like the first or second day on campus, and Hakeem Moore and I were matched up against each other, and Billy Edelin checked the ball, and I was just having a half court. I'm guarding Hakeem, and I'm just I'm not really paying much attention. And he kind of faked up, and he went back and he spun back, perfect lob up. I go up to jump, boom, dunked on him. First pickup game at Syracuse, and I'm like, okay, I remember now. This is right after I just saw Hakeem Moore jump over the guy in South Carolina in the NIT game earlier in the previous season. So I knew what he was capable of doing, but I still, someone that nimble with that kind of quick bounce. I was caught off guard for a minute, and I got, it created a couple laughs for everybody, and I had to try to redeem myself. And but that was the very first pickup game at Syracuse. Just having Hakeem Moore, get dunk on me. So that was pretty funny.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, but then but I did. I don't know. Well, many people won't remember this, but the second day we were back at Manly, and I actually caught Carmelo off guard and dunked on him. So I'll always have that claim. Now he's not here to defend himself. He might say he doesn't remember it, but it did. It did happen. It might have just been one-handed, but it did happen. So, but yeah, those early memories of first get down there, you're so excited, and just like the first practice, you're just it's kind of surreal. Your first practice in the Carrier Dome, you're walking out there, coaches there with the whistle, and you're like he's in his tracksuit, kind of like what they wear now, but that's when it's official. Like this is it. This is the real deal now. You're looking up at the dome. You're all the Gatorade, all the managers out there helping out, and everything. It's just like wow, this is legit now. This is a real program. Everything's out there. You got somebody asking what kind of drink do you want? It's like lemon lime. It's just there's like all this. This was the official practice now, so it was really surreal.
You mentioned the first practice, and Boeheim comes out in the sweats or the tracksuit. I was wondering what the difference between Jim Boeheim when he's recruiting you, and then your first experiences of Jim Boeheim in a game or a practice.
Well, if there's one thing about coaches that he's perfect, what you get is what you see for the most part. I think that when he was recruiting me, he never was really enthusiastic or excited. It's just not really his nature. But you definitely weren't getting yelled at the dinner table when you were getting recruited versus the first day of practice. The biggest mistake you make in the first day of practice is you don't mess up on the back of that zone. If you don't, you can't screw up in the zone. So, but in terms of how he recruited versus how he coached, there wasn't much of a difference. It was pretty straightforward with everything. Being at your parents' dinner table versus being in the Carrier Dome. So I must say that he's pretty consistent in his personality. Take that how you want, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was never recruited by him, but I've had enough experience too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it's it's pretty it's pretty transparent. So
what do you remember most about that freshman season of yours that's going to end in the national championship in New Orleans?
Well, I mean, you obviously that part, but there's a long road to that. I mean, we won every home game. That was one of the that was something that some people kind of forget about, was that we went undefeated at home, and we had such a close knit team. We had Queth Duaney was the sensei, the older 5th-year senior, and just kind of guiding all of us young guys. You had Carmelo and Gerry, 2 freshmen coming in, and just they're getting all this immediate national attention, making national headlines, and just the team was just so it just operated perfectly together. I mean, everybody wasn't always we're hanging out 24/7 off the court, but when we got on the court, we just meshed very well, and everybody we had a very good vibe, very good. As a freshman, I didn't know any different. That's what we always say, like, oh, we're supposed to win this every year, right? But we didn't understand at the time how well we were able to gel and how important and difficult that can be at the college level, because you have so many people. I mean, you can have a senior just be completely upset with having a freshman be kind of have score more points or having more rebounds. They could be completely like, I'm not doing this, or they could that chemistry could be disrupted. But we had a mature enough team for everybody to just work together and work within their roles. And we just pushed each other. We pushed each other every day in practice. Like every practice was tough. Like, there was never a day where it was everyone just going easy on somebody. You can ask Akeem, you can ask Carmelo, you can ask Gerry McNeil, Craig Forth. I mean, we would have, we broke down into our groups and our stations. I mean, we were going after each other. And one of the funny things is, Roosevelt Blue would drop in every once in a while, and we thought we were being physical in practice. And he's like, this is nothing, He'd come by Rosie's like, back in my day, that situation. This is elbows out at all times. But I mean, we were going at each other. We pushed each other every day. But there was never any, bad blood with anything. It was just business as usual. And there weren't other teams. I'm not saying there weren't teams like that before, but as that, that different variety of age groups still working together in at that time, the way we did, that had such an impact on how that translated over into our games. And, and I just think that it was as 3 freshmen, especially Carmelo and Gerry being kind of the 2 main freshmen. That was just as expected. Then we really thought of it as it could be something different. It was interesting.
Now, I know you and Gerry were friends, close friends, right? Right from the outset.
I think we still are. Yeah.
Still, I didn't mean past tense. But you guys struck up a friendship early, even before you got to Syracuse. Yeah. What stands out from him, like you and Ian, that friendship and everything?
Well, it was we were at ABCD camp together, Adidas camp, and I can remember I'd been fishing the couple days before up on the St. Lawrence River, and there was really bad mosquitoes, so I had bites all over my legs and arms, and we didn't really know much about each other. Just knew he was from Scranton area, and then we just started talking about fishing and doing the outdoors, and it was like, we weren't even talking about basketball after 5 minutes. For the next 3 hours, the entire time we were there, we were talking about fishing, being outdoors, things like that. So that was where the connection kind of came from outside of basketball as well. And it was having so many shared common interests off the court as well as on the court. And we both had a very competitive nature in terms of, basketball and just like who can be a better fisherman. I think he might have me in that category as of now, but but still, I'm we're still going to go back and forth and talk about fishing and things like that. So those are some of the off the court connections that whenever you're like, okay, I'm playing the post. This is the point guard. This is the guy who's going to be trying to give me the ball. So I want to try and be his friend. And, I'd like to get the ball over half. Whenever it comes over half court, I want to be able to get some touches. So you're always looking to politic a little bit with the point guard. It's just it's a noble thing to do.
I've seen a lot of friendships between centers and power forwards and the point guards.
Yeah, you have to. When you have a bad relationship, playing that post, you're not doing much ball handling. You better be on good terms with those that can handle the ball. So,
after 2 years of playing, and I think you didn't get in a whole lot of games your first 2 years.
Yeah.
You redshirted.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the guys, when players come to college in redshirt, usually it's that very first year.
Correct.
Why did you decide to redshirt in what was actually your third year at SU?
Well, there was, that was a big, that's something that was weighing on my mind for, I actually played more my freshman year than my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. Freshman year really came in with high hopes. I was top 100 player in the country. I was up there playing with Gerry and Carmelo at all these camps. I was on the same level with all these guys that are now playing in the pros. So for me, it's always tough when you step in that environment because you're used to coming out of high school, I was the go-to guy. That was the guy getting the ball. I was the one dictating how we're going to do things. And whenever that changes, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough situation to overcome, especially emotionally, because your ego's damaged, but you're also almost second guessing yourself. So that's always tough for players because then they start to get inside their own head. But, I always saw myself playing there. I wanted to play there. It was a personal challenge. I mean, I had plenty of people telling me I needed to transfer. I should have transferred after sophomore year.
Did you ever consider that?
Yeah, I mean, you had to think about it. It was, you have to think about your future and what's going to be best for you. So, you think to yourself, is this the best option? Do I need to consider these things? And at the time, I mean, there was deep thoughts, deep conversations with family. But ultimately, the decision was the redshirt and stay and just continue to work on my game there. Because to me, it was I wanted to play at Syracuse. I made a commitment to play there. So for me at the time, it was I want to take this year, just continue to work out, then get back on that court the following year. And so the redshirt year was more of just it was working out. Still got to practice. It was a practice every day. Showed up every day. Just got to just didn't get to playing games. I had looked at Keem Ward was probably not going to come out of the game, and that was the reality at the time. So I think that I might have even saw less minutes than I did my sophomore year, my junior year, and then you lose another year of eligibility. So at the time, that redshirt year was really just based on my ambition to play at Syracuse and to continue on. And it, for the most part, it ended up working out to the following year, to my senior year. Got to see some more minutes. Actually got in there to play in a few key games, made a few key plays. And then, we carried on into the following year. We're actually, my senior year, fifth year, got in that starting lineup. So that was kind of the goal at the time on my thought process. Now you could always go back, and there's still people to this day who will say you should have transferred, but you can always, what are you going to do? And there's nothing, you can't go back. So I don't regret it.
It's something to be from the area, and I consider Watertown, the central New York area, to have played at Syracuse and been there all your career, rather than if you had transferred after 2 years. And and I don't know, does it mean something, especially for you coming from Watertown?
Yeah, it does. And it's because everywhere I go, I mean, this is Syracuse basketball country too. I mean, this is you'll have Duke fans here and there because that's just like anywhere. But everywhere I go in the community, it's Matt Gorman that played basketball in Syracuse. And that's just the way it's going to be. And it's even more so when I'm out in Syracuse, going anywhere to the mall or anywhere. So it's neat to have that, and that connection to the community, and that recognition. And if you go to speak to some younger players, or you go to a high school game, you immediately have people's ear. You're able to immediately walk into a situation and people will recognize that. So it carries a lot. It does mean a lot to me, representing this area. Somebody, because not everybody can do it. There's been a ton of tremendous basketball players out of the area that still tell me to this day that I thought were better than me, that have said they all wish they would have had the opportunity to go to Syracuse. So it means a lot to me when I hear something like that.
I wanted to ask you about the 2006 Big East tournament a little bit, for two reasons. One, and let's get this one first. You had one of the most important games of your career up to that point in that tournament run in the semifinals against Georgetown.
Yeah.
And you came off the bench and played a huge role in that 1 point win.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to tell Coach at the end of the game, I was like, if I was getting those many minutes all this time, this would be the regular thing. But no, it it was a great, that was just that tournament was memorable just based on how the games were going, how we were finishing them out anyways. But that game against Georgetown, a lot of people still talk. They'll always be like, "Oh, remember that game against Georgetown?" I'm like, yeah. So, we just got in there and get to play. We got ourselves. We were in stride. It just came right in, had the flow going. Setting some screens, picking and popping. Things were just moving well. Defensively, we were just all in the right place at the right time. We just had the energy, had the momentum. Hit a couple shots when they mattered, had a couple deflections or blocks when they mattered. So, it's all about the timing.
No. Before you go any further, I got to get you on this one. All right, so you come off the bench against Georgetown. You play great. It's a 1-point win, and you got like 6 points. Okay, I know Matt Gorman can get 6 points if you give him especially if he gets that open 3, right? And then you had 5 rebounds. Yeah. Okay. At 6'9", 240, Matt's going to get a rebound or 2 if he gets extended playing time.
Yeah.
You have to explain to me how you ended up with 2 steals and 2 assists.
Well,
Matt
always remember a dribble handoff counts as an assist. And when you got somebody like Gerry running around coming off screens, you can just stand there, literally hand the ball off. You're going to get
that counts.
Assist. That counts. It's an assist. Or you just bounce it down, But the steals, the thing about the 2-3 zone, if you're in the right place with your hands out, the ball's going to come right into your hands, theoretically. So you don't got to do much. That's the way we're taught. So thank Coach Boeheim for that.
You stuffed your line to the stat sheet. You just filled it up that day.
Yeah. So it was a good game. I mean, it came at an important time. So
didn't you have the steal that led to y'all's first game? Because y'all had to come from behind in just about every game in that tournament.
Yeah.
The go-ahead basket, you had the steal that turned into the fast break.
Yeah, Jeff Green went up for a shot. So, I had a deflection at the end. There was a couple plays, but I believe there was a deflection at the end that I had just led to a basket at the other end. So, it's just it was a team effort. I mean, you watch that game. That game will be on every once in a while on ESPNU, and I'll always tune into it just to watch it. So it's always good to see. I'll get a text message. Someone will tell me Georgetown game's on. So.
The other question I had for you regarding that tournament is basically after the fact, we in the media found out that Gerry was pretty hurt.
Yeah.
That he had, the kind of like the hip pelvic version of a shin splint. What was it like? Because I know you're his buddy there. I don't know if you guys were even rooming together.
Yeah, we were roommates. We lived in the same building, apartment. So, but Gerry he always had something. He was always beat up. I mean, he's not, he's a smaller guy. I always call him little fella. You won't like to hear that, but no, he's just smaller guys. Usually, he's getting hit, getting fouled, he's getting hit a lot. So, I mean, throughout his career, there was a lot of injuries that he was playing games with a lot of people didn't know about. I mean, there was always something, and especially that senior year with the hip. I think that was the one where he just couldn't maneuver. I mean, there was nothing he could do. His maneuverability was severely impacted. Other things he could just push through. But he was always banged up from something. That just shows you how tough he was.
What was he having to do at the hotel each night during the tournament?
So he would have to, they have to stem the ice, everything. That whole, the groin area. So it was always kind of funny. I kind of make fun of him for that, but it's for a different time. But
that's where Brad Pike earns his money, right?
Yeah. I didn't want to have that job or be in that situation, but but he was always banged up, and he was tough. I mean, he always came back and he played, showed up to practice. I don't think he ever missed practices from being hurt. I mean, we didn't have anybody like that. I mean, guys played through, and it's always risky to do that. And you want to rest, and you want to make sure you're healed. But then if some people want to play, they don't really care. So that's kind of where his mentality was.
Was there ever a moment during that 4-game run in that tournament where you thought, okay, overtime against Connecticut, there's no way he'll play tomorrow, or he plays against Georgetown and you get back to the hotel and he's laying in a bathtub with ice and you're like, there's no way he's playing tomorrow?
Never thought that. I knew he'd play. There's never a doubt in my mind that he wasn't going to play. So he'd have to really be like incapacitated to the point where, it was impossible to play. He lost a limb or something, like there'd be, that was the only way that was going to stop him, really. So I always knew he was going to play regardless. Wouldn't matter.
There's times when I think back to your game, your size, 6'9", 6'10", with a really soft jump shot, that I thought, boy, Matt Gorman in today's game.
Yeah.
Would, I mean, you ever like, man, I came along.
Yeah,
like,
well, it's always, I look at, how I always look at Syracuse teams. I mean, basically you can say to yourself, many things might have been different if I was on this team at this time. Timing is everything type thing. But I think the offense today, I mean, it would have been interesting, because I really like to go inside. My game was inside out. I'd do the baby hook inside, post up, back to the basket. Then I'd like to step out and shoot when the time permitted. So it would have been interesting for sure. Especially with the team, this year's team. There's a lot you're going to see. You're seeing a lot of outside shots. Pick and pop is always going to be there. And then you just see a lot of players haven't developed a lot of their back to the basket moves as much. Some do, some haven't. But you can take advantage of those weaknesses as well. So you'd be able to really, work that inside out game more this year than previous years when I was playing. Sure.
Now you're the assistant coach up at Jefferson
Community
College right now, right?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have due to the pandemic, we didn't have a season this year. Doing it for 7 years, and it's necessary just based on the nature of the this pandemic. You can't have it. It just worked out that way. But you just want these players. I'm just thinking from every player, any college player. They didn't have a season. Just hoping that things work out, because it's a year of their life that's essentially. So you want to make sure that it's good to see high school sports come back, but as a coach, you just want to make sure players are still developing and they're not losing interest in the game, and they're continuing to get better. And so when we do start playing again, they're hitting the ground running, so they can develop and then move on to a bigger school, or even have a chance to play professionally if it permits. So as a coach, those are the things you think about. Coaching community college, it's very, very different than coaching at a 4-year school. Anybody who's coached at community college understands that. You really just have the players there for a couple of years at most. So you don't have much time to develop, everything, the entire scope of things. Versus a 4-year school. So, but you want to make sure those players are able to come in, develop, and then help them get to that next part. Whether it be a 4-year school or something else. So if they wish to continue playing. But coaching is something that's always going to be a part of me. The pandemic made it tough, made it difficult. Obviously, it's like anybody who coaches, you feel like a piece of your life has been taken away from you. Yeah. So, but it's just the way it worked out. But we'll get things back rolling. I think summertime, fall, we can hopefully return to normal, and looking forward to that.
Well, the next time you get together and go fishing with Gerry, you think I might be able to find a row in the?
That'd be great. That'd be an interesting day for sure. Yeah, we'd have to do that maybe this summer. So,
think you guys would allow me to bring along a tape recorder in addition to the tackle box?
Well, if we don't like what that tape recorder is going to say, we'll just throw it in the water. How about that? No, but yeah, I think that'd be fun. It'd be interesting. So. Then we can really see who's a better fisherman. Then you can see who's a better fisherman. So
that could be a whole new podcast.
You could do one out there on the water. And how about that? So that'd be good.
Hey Matt, listen, it's been great catching up with you. You look fantastic. You look like you could still play.
I'd like to, but I had 2 ankle surgeries and that was it. So that's what kind of kept my days from playing. But other than that, just try to maintain. That's what I say. I just try to maintain.
Well, you're doing a good job, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast this week. Thank you for
sure, Mike. We got to beat Duke tonight and keep the season moving.
All righty. Thanks again.